What's up? Oh my God, it's happening. A moment of clarity. The moment of clarity that'll be roughly an hour long. But it's just a moment. It's just a moment for us to lock in and know what the fuck's going on in the world. Thank you guys for being here. Do all the good things. Click subscribe and the what's its and the has its. And if you listen to the podcast, then I don't know, give it 4 stars or 5 stars or give it a 6 Bermuda shorts or whatever the fuck the rating system is today. Thank you for joining me on the platforms that haven't yet deleted me. There's a couple out there. I'm on the Hoojits.com and I'm on the Wiggletits.gov, I believe it is. Those are the 2 platforms left that have not deleted me. I have a new update on being censored on platforms and deleted from platforms. I'm the most censored comedian in America, unless you can point me to another comedian who's had over 1,000 videos banned by YouTube globally. If you can, I'll back up and I'll say, I am sorry. You are right. That guy is censored more. So please let me know. But otherwise, I'm going to keep claiming most censored comedian in America. I have a hell of a show for you today. I'm going to be honest. This one packs a punch. All right. We're going to get into just how catastrophic Biden's foreign policy is, but not just catastrophic in the way I always talk to you about, catastrophic in the sense of just killing human beings and destroying the planet and pushing us towards nuclear Armageddon, and et cetera, all of those good things, all those things you have on the list when you're having a good day and you want to write down things to be thankful for. You're like, brink of nuclear Armageddon. I'll add that to the list. And also Reese's Pieces. Those are that, and then when you're in the bathtub and you fart a little and it looks kind of funny. Those are the things on my list. But anyway, I have a hell of a show for you, and I'm going to go through Biden foreign policy sucks, yes, in the ways you expect me to say, but I'm also going to go in how it sucks in the traditional way, in the ways that your mainstream media would tell you it should be good. It sucks in a way of like defending the American empire, making America strong, all of that garbage, all of that toxic nationalist bullshit. And can we please make toxic nationalism a thing? Can that please become a thing that people chat about? Okay, yes, toxic masculinity, we heard it. Okay, we know about it. But how about toxic fucking nationalism? Because that's where this foreign policy comes from all these maniacs, these perverse parasites. Anyway, I'm going to get into that. I'm also going to get into the New York Times admitting that America kills its enemies in our name and then keeps it a secret, assassinates people and then keeps it a secret. That's the New York Times, because you notice what the New York Times does so brilliantly, so amazingly, is they admit to things that America does like 10, 15 years after we do it. And at the time it's actually happening, they deny it and they try and crush people like me who call out the reality. So when it's really going on, when we really need to know it, like in the run up to the Iraq War, they'll say not only are there WMD, but anyone who says there aren't WMD is a fucking loser who doesn't get it. You don't get it, and you're wrong, and you're a traitor. They'll do all that, and then 10 years later they'll go, yeah, it was totally no WMD. So they'll admit to it later. And I also want to get into the attacks on the gray zone, because we're seeing censorship and attacks against me, against Danny Haifong, another journalist, against Gray Zone, against Consortium News, against Mint Press. All of these outlets are being targeted and hit and deplatformed. And so there's a new attack on the Gray Zone that leaked emails have helped prove what's going on there. So I'm definitely getting to those stories. I might get to more of that, but I'm definitely getting to those. Anyway, let's get into it. And here's why I'm going to tell you this show this episode is fucking epic. Because, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but please tell me if there's something like this in your life. Maybe I'm the only idiot out there, where for like 2 to 3 years, I've thought to myself, I wish fill in the blank existed. I wish someone would invent fill in the blank. I wish that there was a way to do fill in the blank. And then I'm sitting there laying in bed, can't sleep. It happens, especially if you have the thoughts, if you have the things in the brain ball going, and you can't sleep, and you haven't had your roughly 4 to 19 drinks in order to help slow the brain ball. And I was laying there, and it occurred to me, what if I Google whether fill in the blank exists? What if I do that? And I did it, and it fucking does exist. And of course, it's probably been out there and easily accessible and free for like fucking, I don't know, 5 years or something. And here's what fill in the blank is: a way to highlight articles online without downloading them or any of that shit, without taking a freeze frame photo or anything. Highlight an article online. And I don't mean highlight it and then you click away and the highlighting goes away. I mean, highlight it and it stays on the article. And again, I will admit, if I'm the only fucking idiot that didn't know this, but sitting there after 2 years of thinking, I wish there was a way to highlight articles online, I thought, you know what? I'll Google whether there's a way to highlight articles online. And of course there is. Of course. But is there anything under the sun that people haven't invented? Especially something as dumb as that. So here's the first article coming from Popular Resistance, as you know, outlet I love that you should check out, that you can also get at radindymedia.com, the site that I created. Anyway, here's the article. Look at all that highlighting. Look at that. It's fucking highlighted. Only took me, and for those of you listening to the podcast, just you can picture all this, even if you can't see it. Just picture an article highlighted online. It's just, how? Why? Why am I that dumb? Honestly, it feels like I, for the past 2 years, was just like, I wish there was an invention for something where you could clip your fingernails. Like, I wish someone had come up with a way to do that, because what I've been doing is just rubbing them quickly against my face, against my beard, until they slowly get filed down. And I wish there was a way to like clip them shorter. And then I looked in the store. Anyway, here's an article that's been highlighted. Biden's foreign policy is one big mess. This is on Popular Resistance. And so again, I said this at the beginning, but I should reiterate that there's the way Biden's foreign policy is fucking garbage, in that it literally just destroys lives. Standard American horrible foreign policy, standard American empire crushing other countries, right? Hasn't changed under Obama, under Trump, under Biden, under Bush, under Clinton. Go back to the people that millennials haven't heard of. All right. Everyone knows that shit, right? We're trying to crush other countries, and I cover it on my other podcast, Government Secrets. We cover a new story every week on how America over years has tried to crush other countries, killing innocent civilians. Just to name a few, the fucking people we're killing in Yemen with Saudi Arabia is either one of the worst humanitarian catastrophes ever. There's obviously our proxy war in Ukraine, fighting Russia to the last Ukrainian. Thank God that's going on. There's the economic sanctions on Venezuela and Cuba and Iran and Syria. And in some of these places, people are dying because of the economic war. In Venezuela, tens of thousands dying. In Syria, tens of thousands dying because of our economic war on these countries. Okay, all of that, I think most of you know. You know Biden sucks in that regard. But this article goes through how he actually sucks in the other way as well, in the way that people who want to defend the American empire, who want to defend America, the country, the United States, he's just a fucking catastrophe. And I say this a lot. It's not really Biden. Not that you should go easy on Biden. You can call him a C asterisk T. But it's the people around him, the deep state, our military industrial complex, the people that he has in the room that are telling him what to say. Because, I've run out of analogies for how fucking pathetic Joe Biden is. I honestly, the number of things I've called him, I can't come up with any more, honestly. He's like honestly, it's like having a president who's a mannequin that's like melting in the sun. just like this, an old mannequin with a suit on that doesn't fit right, and he does kind of faceless, and it's just oozing. And that honestly, that is a good analogy for Biden, both in looks and in brain power. I think it's a good analogy for both, really. But this guy, I mean, this guy, yeah, and all the also it references kind of all the plastic surgery he's had. I don't know what he's fucking had done to his face. I don't know what it's made out of anymore. I don't know what kind of laminate they use on him. I don't but and also the fact that, like, if you go back, this is a guy who's been around. He was a segregationist, like back in when that was a thing. He was a good friend with Strom Thurmond. Give the eulogy at Strom Thurmond's funeral. It was a Dixiecrat. I mean, this guy's been around for fucking ever. And if you go back and look at the old photos of him when he started Congress 70 years ago, whatever, he was balding then. And now he has a full head of hair. What kind of mechanical operation, what kind of one of those neon tanning bed tubes do they put him in every night and pump him full of some sort of oxygen chemicals? I don't know, some sort of formaldehyde that he oozes out of his nose during speeches. Anyway, so here's Biden's foreign policy. And again, by calling it Biden's foreign policy, I don't mean that he actually makes these decisions, but a short review shows that there's little that Secretary of State Anthony Blinken or his president could count as success. Last month, Biden traveled to Asia, where he had meetings with Quad, which is Australia, Japan, India, and the U.S., as well as with South Asian leaders. I don't know why they all need these stupid names. Just say AJIU, all right? You don't have to call them fucking Quad or the Five Eyes. These people all want to they want to be the evil villains in Bond movies, so they have to give stupid names. The Quad meeting was a failure as India showed no sign of joining the other three in their condemnation of Russia. Instead of sanctioning Russia, it is buying more oil from Russia, which offers decent rebates. Such disunity does not look good for a U.S.-designed anti-China coalition. Yeah, you think? And by the way, good for India for standing up for themselves, for standing up against the American empire for once. India, honestly, India's been kicked around and beaten for too many years. Good for them for standing up. And again, I don't support Russia's invasion. I also don't support the U.S. creating the invasion, creating the war. The U.S., it seems to be slowly backing away from this proxy war. They've already started blaming Zelensky, as I covered on here the other day. And I think that they're trying to, the U.S., because our sanctions against Russia are hurting the U.S. more than they're hurting fucking Russia. Okay? That's how fucking dumb we are. And again, this is if you're imagining things in the pro-empire, let's see America win kind of view. You're like, you fucking idiots. You created sanctions against a country that are harming more Americans than Russians. I mean, the ruble's doing great, isn't it? Honestly. And so India has stood up and said, we're going to do gas deals with Russia. But geographically, is that not what India should do? Should they really be shipping oil around the world? I mean, yes, I'd like to get past oil, but that you can assume. But no, it makes much more sense to get it from Russia than to have a fucking Titanic-sized ship going across the giant oceans filled with oil. It's the dumbest. So good for India standing up to our bullshit. Months after U.S. President Joe Biden first indicated that his administration would launch a new Indo-Pacific economic framework. And by the way, anytime you hear the United States say we're launching an economic framework, a new one, just remember they mean we're launching a new economic war, economic military alliance against somebody. Economic framework sounds nice, but it's meant to crush other countries. It's never something positive. It's never like, when was the last time America was like, we're gonna launch a new economic framework to help these children who are hungry. I mean, they do say that shit, honestly, but they don't mean it. When's the last time they meant it? When was the last time they said that about a country that didn't have some sort of geopolitical power or use or resources, shit we could steal from them, just like all the lithium or all the gold, or they have all the Nerf material that goes in all of our soft footballs. We have to coup them because we're running low on Nerf. And it's just like they always have something. Never once have we said, "Hey, we got to create a new economic framework to help these people that have nothing we need. They're just struggling, and we just want to help them." Please, folks, put it in the comment section. Name the time we did that, please. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it. Asian governments are not wrong to have mixed feelings about IPEF, the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. U.S. trade officials plan to seek higher labor and environmental performances from negotiating partners, but they have also, I'm sure we really give a shit about environmental performances. We always claim to. Anyway, but they've also indicated they are not prepared to offer access to the U.S. market, let alone pursue a TPP-style free trade agreement. So the TPP, as many of you recall, which we crushed, we destroyed the TPP. And by we, I mean fucking activists. All right. Remember that. When they claim that those of us who aren't in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, one of the two corporate-owned bullshit parties, we never make a difference. We never really have an impact. Remember, we crushed the largest economic deal that has ever been fucking conceived. And by economic deal, I mean ceding sovereignty to corporate tribunals. Fucking awful shit that would have harmed Americans. It would have harmed every country in the fucking thing. By that, I mean the average people. It might have helped some GDPs. It might have helped us crush China, but it wouldn't have helped average people, which is how I view economic success. All right. I don't view it as, the GDP numbers went up and Jeff Bezos was able to add a new gold dildo to his gold dildo collection. So that's how I view success. And TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, created by Obama and then was supposed to be signed by Donald Trump. Obama couldn't get it through in time. Was supposed to be signed by Donald Trump. But thanks to activists, thanks to people standing up, thanks to the fact that we had platforms, we had people like you who are listening or watching right now. Thanks to that, Donald Trump, in his very limited mental faculties, his kind of it's like a chipmunk size brain ball he has going there. In his little chipmunk brain, he goes, Obama created this thing, and I hate Obama, and I hate everything Obama ever did, so fuck anything Obama did. And B, activists are telling me to trash TPP. And C, Hillary Clinton supports TPP, and I hate Hillary Clinton. So in his chipmunk brain, he was like, well, I need to stop this. And he did because of activists. So there you go. Major, major event. All right. Malaysia's, be prepared for a mispronounced name, Mahathir Mohamad. I don't know if I was that far off, honestly. You can give me credit for that one. Said that the new U.S.-led trade group, IPEF, is intended to isolate China, which was exactly what TPP was meant to do. That was the goal of it, isolate China, because the United States, although they did admit it recently, and I think I covered it on this show, but on Moment of Clarity, but the U.S. is in a new Cold War against China and has been for years. They've only just started to admit it recently. Isolate China, it will be unsuccessful doing that as the whole idea is likely to fail. So there you go. And I'm going to get into more of Biden's foreign policy in a second, but that's another example of not only is Biden failing in the way American presidents always fail, meaning he's not helping humanity, he's not helping the globe, he's not helping the environment, he's not helping create a more evolved, impressive existence for the world, for average Americans, for any of those things. So those are the ways he normally fails. All of the U.S. presidents in recent years have failed in that regard. But he's also failing in the America's gonna fucking kick everybody asses and then, add their names to the list, right? Because you got to kick ass and take names. And he's failing in that way too. as writer for the Lowy Institute in Sydney opined in the New York Times, China is already winning throughout much of Asia on both the economic and diplomatic fronts, and nothing the United States is doing seems likely to change that. Competing with China in Asia will not be easy, but it starts with recognizing that right now the United States is losing. Yeah, here's an idea. And I know I'm just spitballing here. I'm just throwing out ideas, just off the top of my head, just an idea. What we did with, like I learned in kindergarten, and we worked together. Has anyone proposed that? Is there anyone in these rooms that says, "Well, why don't we work together with them?" Well, we did it. Someone proposed it, at least for the International Space Station. We did it once. A lot of corporations work with China because they've realized they can outsource labor and get people to work for pennies. And you have iPhone factories where people are fucking jumping off the top of buildings. So they have to put nets up. But anyway, besides all that, but I mean, governmentally, at the top levels, what if we work together to, I don't know, save us from climate collapse, save us from other environmental collapse, which people like to focus on the climate, which I think we should. But, there's a lot of other things collapsing too. We're cutting down all the forests at the rate of a football field a minute or some shit. And why do we have to measure everything in football fields? Can we get a better metric, Something that doesn't relate to the bread and circuses. Something. Hey, we're cutting down football fields, the forests out there. It could be, what do we got? Pickleball, 7 pickleball courts. It could be, no, that's still sports. How about the size of Rhode Island? We're losing a Rhode Island every day. Whatever it is. I don't know the numbers, but it's not good. Not good. So let's see. Another area where current U.S. foreign policy is failing is the Americas. Heard of it? Biden is currently hosting the summit of the Organization of American States. And the person saying that tongue-in-cheek, because the OAS, the Organization of American States, is a U.S. puppet organization that helps create coups in the across Latin America. And so he had that summit in LA. I just covered it the other day, how pathetic it was, how it failed, how protesters destroyed it. It was wonderful. Anyway, the head of the states of at least 7 of the 34 OAS member states were not invited or declined to come. Biden or Blinken's ideological argument. Yeah, Biden's not capable of an ideological argument. Honestly, when your main purpose, like the main goal and your main chore list for the day is to switch out your colonoscopy bag like Biden, then you just can't really focus on these other things. That's the problem. When you're so focused on trying to get that diaper rash cured up that Biden's been dealing with, then you can't really work on the economic deals and the ideological arguments. So you got to feel for the guy. Biden or Blinken's ideological argument that Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela are dictatorships, right, as compared to us, as compared to our system where the 2 parties who spend the most money win 100% of the time, and the 2 parties who spend the most money are the 2 corporate parties because they have the ability to get the most money because they are part of those circles. They are in those circle jerks with the fucking group of jerks that run our corporations, our CEOs, corporations the size of old countries. Honestly, if you look at the amount of money coming in and going out, so those 2 parties own everything. They rig everything. We know Bernie Sanders was fucking completely rigged out of a primary, completely cheated out of it. So what makes these other countries dictators and not us? These other countries have a more legit voting system. They don't have these stupid black box machines where you just go, I pushed a button on a machine and I'm pretty sure that I got what I wanted. The machine said to me, yep, we did it for you. We put in the numbers that you voted. And you're like, okay, I guess that's all I need. That's all. I just need this fucking I just need this Teddy Ruxpin with a fucking keyboard that's been cobbled together to take my vote. As long as that says that my vote was counted, that equals fine. That equals going great. Yeah, legit democracy. And I know you've heard me say this before. I hate that Donald Trump stole this issue. He stole this issue from you and me. Because I've been talking about the fucking black box bullshit voting machines for goddamn years. And then Donald Trump shows up and he goes, the machines are legit and I would have won. I would have won all of the votes. I got all of the votes and the machines lied about me. And now that's a Trump thing. No, fuck you. It's not a Trump thing. Trump got his ass kicked because he's got, he's a fucking idiot, but also because he had 97% of the mainstream media against him. But that's another story. Trump lost, but still, these are black box garbage machines that clearly rigged the primary out of Bernie Sanders, away from Bernie Sanders. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Sorry to get on a tangent here. Tangent coming through. We got tangents here. Hot off the presses, tangents. Biden's ideological argument that Cuba are dictators, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela are dictatorships, does not make much sense when one learns that the unelected acting president of Haiti, Ariel Henry, was invited even though he is under suspicion of having murdered his predecessor, Jovenel Moise. That's right. This motherfucker is under suspicion of having ordered the murder of the guy who came before him. And they had him at the fucking, they invited him. They were like, yeah, come on. You're good to go. Because Haiti's the government of Haiti, the oligarchy of Haiti, which is, not comparable to the U.S. oligarchy, but still the rich in Haiti, they're puppets of the U.S. They're not doing anything for Haiti. Haiti's, for those who don't know, and I have a great episode of Government Secrets, my other podcast on this topic, which you should check out. But Haiti, one of the only states that is a former slave colony that rebelled and fucking won. And for that, we have attacked and exploited and destroyed them forevermore. And my favorite part of that is, I can't remember the year, but ultimately they were forced by courts to pay France for their freedom, to pay France for the money France lost because they lost their slaves. That's Haiti's history. They went into debt to France, who had owned their human bodies. And the courts ruled, you got to pay France something. You got to give them a few $1 billion because you can't just be free. All right, you were their top property, and you can't just take their property like that. Okay. Listen, I'm just calling them as I see them. Okay, you can't. You were theirs, and now you're not. I think you should pay them for the next 60, 100 years. Unbelievable. There's another tangent for you. Biden again came up with empty hands. Administration officials said that Mr. Biden would propose reforms to the Inter-American Development Bank to encourage more private investment in the region. Yeah, private investment. We can never just help people. We got to give it to a corporation. We got to say to the corporation, hey, you go help them and we'll give you lots of money. Our governments now are they're just money laundering schemes. Rather than actually help people, they just take money and give it to corporations. So it's a massive money laundering scheme, as is our Pentagon. On Tuesday, Vice President Kamala Harris, who's done tons of great shit, hasn't she? God, listing the amount of awesome things that Kamala Harris, I can go. If I started right now, I wouldn't finish for the next 2-3 seconds. I wouldn't. If I had to list everything amazing that Kamala Harris has done as VP, as the first female VP, she is showing that women everywhere can be puppets to empire. and do not a goddamn thing while every average American is exploited. Kamala Harris announced pledges of $1.9 billion in investments by private companies over the next several years. These are really bribes, honestly. This is a straight up bribe because the company, the U.S. government says to the company, will you go help these people? The company says, yes, how much money will you give us to do it, A, and B, will you be in our back pocket going forward? And then the U.S. government goes, yeah, we'll give you $1.9 billion. And then we'll claim that we're helping these people, and then you get to pillage these people. And then the company goes, awesome, great deal. Thanks. That's a great bribe. Glad to bribe with you. Thank you. It's good. It's good doing bribe with you. It's good. Yes, it's good doing bribe with you. Thanks for being here. But then, and it gets even better, but it's not clear that the investments will be robust enough to prevent those countries from turning to China for help, a key goal for Mr. Biden. And again, it's like if you want to have the U.S. empire mentality of this, you go, oh my God, turning to China for help? No. But if you want to have an evolved, an adult view of this beyond toxic nationalism, you go, well, maybe it's because fucking China gives them better deals and doesn't exploit them to that level. I'm not saying China doesn't want anything back from their investments. Okay, but again, that's toxic nationalism. I'm not saying China doesn't. I'm not saying China just runs over there and says, here is all of the money. But I bet China, from what I've heard, what I've read, China's deals are not nearly as exploitative as what the U.S. does to these countries. Same in Africa. Here's another quote about the summer of the Americas. Looks to be a debacle, a diplomatic own goal. That's a soccer terminology, folks, for those of you who don't know what soccer is. And soccer is what we Americans call football, for those of you who don't know what football is. The summer of the America looks to be a debacle, an own goal. The U.S. has no trade proposal, no immigration policy, and no infrastructure package. Instead, the focus is on who will and will not be there. Unclear is why we pressed for it to happen, because this administration is a hilarious disaster. This entire administration is an own goal. They're both in terms of making a better, positive world, and also in terms of if you want America to be a success, if you want it to be a better country, also they suck. Okay, I'm trying to see how much more we have in this article because I want to get to another topic. U.S. policy in the Middle East is stuck. The nuclear agreement with Iran is unlikely to be revived under Biden as he has rejected to lift Trump's terror designation of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, think about that. Obama got this deal with Iran completed, which basically started to lightly create less economic war, less Cold War against Iran. Trump then came in, threw all that out, and fucking took a drone bomb to their head general's head, their top general's head, which, you know, a lot of countries frown upon. There's a lot of countries that just, for some odd reason, they don't like it when you drone bomb their top general. For some odd, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's that they haven't found themselves, and so they get upset by the little stuff. But for some odd reason, a lot of countries not fans of us putting a drone bomb through the fucking skull of their fucking top general. For some reason, that tends to upset them, which tends to create some a little coldness, I'd say, between the two countries. Okay, a little bit of a riff. So Biden has come in and he's not said, oh my God, boy, we are the fucking worst. Why did we do that? We are sorry and we regret it. And Trump is a maniac who was blowing people up. And our Pentagon is a maniac who told him to blow people up. And we are so sorry. No, Biden didn't do that at all. Biden walked in and said, yeah, well, all right then. I got to switch out this colonoscopy bed. I don't have time to talk about this. This thing is full. This thing is brimming full. This thing, oh man, this is way past the line. They have a line on these bags where you're not supposed to go beyond. This is up above the line. This is, whoo. Yeah, I got to work on this. Really got to work on this. I can't talk to Iran right now. but yeah, so Biden's done nothing to try and ease tensions with Iran. Instead, just been he and his administrations have been shitheads to them, per usual. Also, his planned visit to Saudi Arabia, which is coming up in July. So since this he just announced it like yesterday, so that's why this article says an uncertain date. But his planned visit to Saudi Arabia to beg for cheaper oil has been moved to mid-July. And we fucking need Saudi Arabia because without them, there's no petrodollar. Without petrodollar, the U.S. Dollar tanks, and the U.S. does not have global hegemony anymore. So we bend over backwards for Saudi Arabia. We let them chop up and incinerate Washington Post journalists. That's how much we're indebted to Saudi Arabia. We go, thank you for chopping that guy up, because we were gonna have a talking to with him, and instead you chopped him up. And we're fine with that. We're okay with that. We're going to have a meeting over here where we're going to talk a lot about how there's no press freedom in Russia and China, and we're going to claim there's no press freedom in Venezuela and Cuba and everything. But we're totally going to stay buds with you, even though you chopped up this Washington Post guy and put him into the barbecue cooker. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Also, we are torturing one of the world's most famous and successful in a truth sense journalists, Julian Assange. We're going to torture him, and we're going to keep torturing him forever. But we're going to pretend we stand for press freedom, right? That's what we're going to do. It does not help that Democratic leading retired General John R. Allen is under investigation for having lobbied for Qatar, the arch rival of Saudi Arabia. Allen is leading the equally Democratic leaning Brookings Institute, which has received major donations from Qatar. On its anti-China policy, the Biden administration has had two other setbacks. It had banned solar modules from China over alleged human rights abuses in Xinjiang province, where the raw materials for making these modules is coming from. And I feel like I don't need to stop here and lecture everybody about how hilarious it is to hear the U.S. and the Biden administration stop working with areas of the world because of human rights violations. Okay? I don't think I have to tell you that. That honestly, that is like Carrot Top lecturing people on how to do quality comedic material. You don't have to. It goes unsaid how fucking insane it is for the United States to say, yeah, you've had human rights abuses. This and I'll tell you, a human rights abuse I agree with in China is the fucking workers getting paid 35 cents a year by iPhone factories, putting up suicide nets so they can't kill themselves as effectively. So now they just have to press their face slowly against a George Foreman grill and hope it burns its way through because they can't jump off the buildings anymore. That type of human rights abuse, I agree with. I agree we should be talking about those. But guess what? That's not what they're talking about, because they can't talk about that because that is U.S. sponsored. That is U.S. paid for. They have giant American flags in the offices at Foxconn where those suicide nets were put up. And for those of you, the first time you're hearing about this, legit suicide nets to stop workers who lived at the factory, so you couldn't leave, stopped workers from hurling their bodies off the buildings, and it would catch them. And then I don't know what they do at that point. I don't know. That's got to be a weird moment where you're laying in the net like, where do I go now? I'm in this net thing. You caught me. Can somebody, does anyone have a big pool skimmer? You can get me out of here and I can just go work on the George Foreman grill situation. But anyway, that they can't talk about because that is U.S. sponsored. That is all good in fact, but Trump hilariously tried to put a Foxconn factory in Wisconsin, and it was one of the largest catastrophes that you've ever heard of. I did a whole segment on Redacted tonight, but like billions of dollars given to Foxconn, this massive corporation, and they did nothing. You can go visit the area in Wisconsin. They literally did like nothing. They built like one little dome, and now they're trying to sell it as office space for billions of dollars. They've made it like a dog park or something. If you want your dog to run around inside a $1.5 billion geodesic dome, then that's the place for you, Wisconsin. Anyway, Biden reacted to the. Oh, sorry. So we stopped the. We said we would ban the solar modules from China. This, along with a minor trade dispute, led to a supply crisis for solar panels and stopped some major green energy projects. Biden reacted to that by signing an emergency authorization to lift tariffs on solar modules from Southeast Asia producers, which are in fact reselling Chinese-produced solar panels. That's the punchline right there. Biden banned the solar panels from China, then realized, oh, fuck, we don't have solar panels. We don't have a way to make them. So we'll go buy them from other Asian countries to say, ha, fuck you to China. And instead, those panels are still made by China. They're just resold. And I'm sure we're paying more, right? If you're going through a middleman. If you're going through a middleman, then you're paying more. So now we're paying more for the same fucking solar panels. That is a level of fucking idiocy that is so good, so great, so wonderful. The State Department also seems confused by the anti-China policy. All right, last two paragraphs. One might argue that Biden's plan, not that I'm not having a good time, I am, folks. One might argue that Biden's plan to lure Russia into a war in Ukraine has worked well. NATO is at least temporarily united and the EU under strict U.S. control. So that's the part. If you're for U.S. empire and you want to see us like keep destroying the world, etc., then that is the part that's going well of the U.S. proxy war in Ukraine. We have united NATO. We have turned it like it's fucking gun barrels fully pointed at Russia. And we have harmed the United States has harmed the EU and made the EU more into vassal states, return them closer to vassal states than they were. They were still vassal states before to some degree, still under dollar hegemony, petrodollar hegemony. However, there were some movements for cooperation with Russia. There was a Nord Stream 2. There were all this oil, getting 40% of oil from Russia, etc. Especially Germany and France, two of the biggest economies in the EU, were turning to Russia. And so the U.S. has now put a stop to that and turned them into U.S. vassal states anew. However, the monetary assault on Russia via sanctions has turned out to be a total failure, with the ruble gaining new heights. The effects of the sanctions have instead created another supply shock, with prices for oil, fertilizer, and wheat going through the roof. The World Bank has downgraded its global growth predictions and is warning of stagflation. I hate all these stupid new words they come up with. Stagflation. All right. The average gasoline price in the U.S. has hit $5 per gallon and is likely to increase further. General inflation has markedly increased, though the causes get misidentified. This while the stock and housing markets are more or less in free fall. So basically, Biden and the U.S. and by the way, keep in mind a lot of the groundwork for our proxy war in Ukraine, for our clusterfuck giant dumpster fire with a Russian accent over in Ukraine. A lot of that groundwork was laid under Trump and Obama, right? 2014 U.S.-backed Nazi coup of Ukraine, the Maidan coup, then the ongoing war in the Donbass region, which we were funding and arming, us both funding and arming the Nazis and looking the other way for how they were dressed. I don't see it. What? No, those don't look like an angry eagle on their fucking, that doesn't look like Hitler's patches at all. That doesn't, what small mustache? That's not a little mustache. He was the chocolate milk. He was drinking some chocolate milk. He was having a chocolate croissant and it smeared some chocolate right there. And so he ended up with a little little chocolate mustache right there under his nose. He's not Hitler fan, I don't think. I mean, again, this is a giant own goal. The U.S. is obliterating the U.S. economy in order to help Russia kill Ukrainians. Like, it's fucked up. And of course, all of the evidence, if you actually read the news, Russia, yes, I'm opposed to the invasion. I'm opposed to all war. Russia, of course, when they are bombing, innocent civilians are going to die. There's no exception to that. However, the part of it that where they're saying, hey, Russia's aiming at innocent civilians, there's no evidence of that I've seen. No evidence that they're trying to hit innocent civilians. They're trying to win the war that the U.S. tried to get them to wage and succeeded. And it's completely fucked. And it's killing Ukrainians while everyone in America runs around with their fucking little Ukrainian flags. Not just America. Half the people in Europe with little Ukrainian flags. We're wearing them on our hat and everything. And what does that flag really mean? It means I want this war to go on forever. I want it to be fucking Vietnam in Ukraine. I want to watch all of these poor people die and end up being migrants and end up trying to get across borders run by Nazis, telling them, no, go back and sit under the bombing. And they have to leave their dogs and all this, you know. I'm not saying that's a joke. People love their dogs. People love their cats. You gotta leave all that shit and hope it's there when you get back. Oh, hey, maybe Rufus will hang in there against the Russian invasion and the Nazis. And maybe when I come back in 5 years, when they let me back in, and maybe I'll find Rufus. He will have set up a little pawn shop. He's selling stuff, working there, maybe making a living, getting by, lonely. You fuck up people's lives. Even the ones that don't die, even the ones that just run. It's so despicable. And yet everyone's running around with those flags like, let's just keep it going. Here's the last part. Biden also needs to shut down the war in Ukraine. He could tell Zelensky to end the senseless fighting and to submit to Russia's demands, or even just sit down at the table and submit to some of the demands, like every war that has ever ended, unless it was a fucking nuclear annihilation where we just decided to obliterate all their civilians. But in general, every war that's ever ended has ended with fucking two sides sitting down, the side that's losing giving into some of the demands, and then everybody's saying, okay, let's go home. That's pretty much how every war ends. So why can't that happen now? Sanctions against Russia could then be lifted and a further oil price increase prevented. As the war has already moved off the front pages, this is likely doable. I love the idea of war moving off the front pages. But then again, the only reason it was Ukraine war 24/7 while all of our other wars get little to no coverage is because the U.S. media wanted this war, right? The U.S. media wanted it like the U.S. corporate state wants it. It was all one big high five party for keeping this war going. Whereas the other wars that we're perpetrating right now, bombing Somalia, helping the obliteration of Yemen, still destroying Syria, destroying Afghanistan with economic war, all of that shit, not front page, right? Because they don't want you talking about it. They don't want it to be a thing. All right, folks, that first topic got a little long, but the rest of the show is at rumble.com/Lee Camp. If you're already there, then nothing will change for you. You just sit tight. And, but yeah, head over to rumble. Here, I'll throw it in the comment section. Rumble.com/Lee Camp. I had to move there because I've been censored. Thousands of videos deleted from YouTube, Facebook, shadow banned. And actually, I have more censorship to tell you about in the next segment. I've been deleted from another platform. So, yay. So I'm over at rumble.com/Lee Camp. It's free to go over there and watch the rest of this episode. Please do so. And 1 second, and we will continue.